Hi dear all, welcome to our first online class. We will talk about intellectual disability this week. Let's start with the definition of intellectual disability. It's a disability characterized by significant limitations both in intellectual functioning and in adaptive behavior. When we are talking about intellectual functioning, we are talking about reasoning, learning, problem solving type of consciousness activities, okay? And when we are talking about adaptive behavior, it includes social and practical skills such as being able to do your own self-care, cooking, maybe shopping, cleaning your house, okay, daily social and practical skills we are mentioning about. And in order for an intellectual disability, we have this online set, the age of 18. It should originate before the age of 18. When we consider the prevalence of intellectual disabilities in Turkey, we see that they are approximately around 30% of the general population, and 2.3% of them make up the mild mental retardation group of the whole population. We use mental retardation and intellectual disability interchangeably. And as you see here, we diagnose and determine the mental retardation intellectual disability cases with intelligence tests. This is important. If you want to work in this field in the future, you should be familiar with with the application of these intelligence tests. Now we will go through the degrees of severity of mental retardation cases. Actually, we classify these cases under four coding system. First one is mild mental retardation. You are giving an intelligence test to the individual, and if she or he gets from 50 to 70 scores from an IQ test, then we define them as mildly mentally retarded people. If their IQ scores range from 35 to 55, we call them moderately mentally retarded, and you see the cases for severe and profound mental retardation. Now let's briefly go to the details of these severity cases. Actually, what especially you need to know for mild mental retarded group, they are educable, okay? We can give education to them, and they make the largest segment of the people with mental retardation with 85%. And the most important point is they are able to develop social communication skills during preschool years. They display none or sometimes minimal impairment in their sensory motor areas. Therefore, in their early ages, we are not able to distinguish them from their same age peers, okay? But the important thing is that their skills just accumulate until approximately the 6th grade level. Afterwards, they start to have difficulties in terms of learning more complex, more comprehensive stuff. So by the adolescence, we especially start to distinguish them from their same age peers. For moderate mental retardation, what you especially need to know is that they are trainable. We can give them training, and the reason for that is they can only progress till the second grade academically. Okay, so maybe they can learn reading and writing at its basis level, but afterwards you will see that they won't proceed academically. Hence, we need to give them some vocational and social training in order for them to adapt to community life, adult life. Okay, in terms of their communication skills, we see that actually during their early childhood years they acquire the communication skills, but by adolescence they start to have some difficulties with their peers, since they are not able to get some social clues in terms of which are necessary for developing relationships, and they may have some difficulties empathizing with their adolescent peers. You need to know these points. I wish we were in the class and were able to interact. I would really like interacting with you in class, but anyway, due to these days situations here, it seems that I'm the only actor, but it's a little bit boring. Okay, first now we'll go on with severe and profound mental retardation group. You will see that the prevalence rates for these cases is lower, but really less, and they acquire little or no communicative speech in childhood. Maybe they can learn to talk by school age, and they can only read and master using those survival words. Remember that we had talked in class about the necessity of making exceptional people independent in their lives, but in severe and profound mental retarded case, actually this is not possible. They can maybe adapt to the life in the community, but they can either live in group homes or with their families. This is actually similar for profound mental retarded case. Still they have less prevalence rates, and most have an identifiable neurological condition, but we see that they always need this constant aid in order to go on their lives. Okay, now we will go on with causes of intellectual disabilities. Okay, for causes of intellectual disabilities, actually we are talking about three types of causes. One is the ones occurring before birth. The second one is the causes occurring during birth, and the third type of causes are the ones occurring after birth. Now, when we are considering the causes of intellectual disabilities which occur before birth, we are mostly referring to chromosomal disorders. And we also have phenylketonuria, which arise from problems with metabolism functioning. But mostly what we see frequently in the cultures, in the countries, is chromosomal disorders and mostly Down syndrome. Okay, so we will talk about Down syndrome, Fragile X, and Prader-Williams is also among these chromosomal disorders, but we will mention about the most frequent one, and PKU, okay, later. And let's go with the causes of intellectual disabilities occurring during birth process. You most probably already have heard that the baby remains out of oxygen during birth while the mother is giving the birth, and as a result, some parts of the brain is injured, which results in mental retardation. Of course, its severity will change based on the level of the injury. And also, there are some reasons of intellectual disabilities occurring after birth, even when you're adults. Okay, but of course we limit the age to 18. But again, due to brain injuries, you can lose your abilities to learn new things. Okay, and we see that after birth, if the child gets some diseases, he or she is prone to develop some intellectual disabilities such as meningitis. I think you have heard about it. Actually, adults are also at risk for developing meningitis. So as a result, if you are not able to cover up with it, we may develop some problems with some intellectual functioning. Accidents like traffic accidents, injuries may cause, and malnutrition and physical abuse, especially if an injury comes to the brain. Intellectual disabilities may be developed afterwards as well. Now, we will mention about the chromosomal disorders which lead to mental retardation. As I said before, chromosomal disorders happen before birth. Okay, let's start with the most frequently observed Down syndrome. We already know that it's a chromosomal condition that occurs when an error in cell division results in an extra chromosome 21. Okay. Actually, special education specialists accept that this is a chromosomal abnormality, but 3 days ago, I guess it was Down Syndrome People's Day. They say that it's not a disability, but it is being different. Okay, it's good to accept people as they are, but in its nature, yes, they are different. We are different. In its nature, there is this chromosomal abnormality reason beyond this. Okay, you should know it. And when we look at the prevalence in the world, we see that 1 in every 700 pregnancies, Down syndrome is observed. I don't want to put any pressure on women over the years of 35, but they say that if the mother is older than 35, based on research findings, there may be a higher chance of having a birth to a Down syndrome child, but actually in first or second trimester of pregnancy, Down syndrome is determined by ultrasonographies, etc. And when we consider the prevalence in Turkey, actually per year 2,000 babies are born with Down syndrome. Okay, let's go with Fragile X syndrome. It is caused by changes in the Fragile X mental retardation gene. This is FMR1 gene, okay? And here, the organism is unable to produce a protein which is called FMRP, and this protein helps regulate the production of other proteins and plays a role in the development of synapses. Since in the case of this protein is not produced, synapses may not develop, and as a result mental retardation develops. Okay, and it is seen in males more than females, and as you see, prevalence rates are less according to Down syndrome. And let's go with Prader-Willi. And again, due to chromosomal abnormality, Prader-Willi occurs due to the deletion in chromosome 5, and this condition is characterized by weak muscle tone, feeding difficulties, poor growth, and late development. You see the prevalence rates actually. And metabolism problem, we see phenylketonuria, PKU. It's a genetic disorder whereby the child is not able to break down an amino acid, and this can lead to brain damage. And what you especially know is that it results generally as a result of the marriages between relatives, okay, which is still I think coming in Turkey as well. And I had briefly mentioned about how we will diagnose intellectual disorders generally with intelligence tests, but of course in diagnostic process, health institutions, neurologists, RAM, you already know it, Rehberlik Araştırma Merkezi, family and university organizations should work as a team. You already know that special education is a teamwork. And actually in our country there are no measures of adaptive behavior used to diagnose the mind barrier, but in order to assess their behavioral dimensions, we use 3 tools: Denver Developmental Screening Scale, Ankara Development Screening Inventory, Gazi Early Childhood Development Evaluation Tool. After you graduate or in your last year, you can take the training of these tests, okay? Most probably you will utilize from them if you work at a school setting or in private school or in special education. And now I want to mention about some initiatives about taken about the intellectually disabled people. We mentioned about the nature of the mental retardation, how they develop, and basically how they affect people. And now we will mostly talk about societal dimensions, okay? We will firstly talk about some initiatives. Actually, there are more than 4 or 5, but I will give you some 2 examples or 3 examples for these educational initiatives. First one is individualized education support program with tablets. Actually, you see that there is this voice dreamer, dream reader, ModMat, and other applications, and these applications support fine motor skills, attention, language, and eye-hand coordination of intellectually disabled people, and parents have the opportunity to receive education about these applications to guide their children. And the other initiative, educational initiative, is Plus by Down Career and Independent Life Academy. It has been established in 2014, and it aims to help individuals with Down syndrome to plan their daily life. Here is the point: we are talking about independence, making these people feel themselves and act as they are independent, because this is at the basis. This academy help mental retarded, especially Down syndrome people, become skillful to perform their plans in their daily life. They are providing a free education, and here you see BİMEX Down, Türkiye Kariyer ve Bağımsız Yaşam Akademisi. They are supporting Down syndrome people in terms of managing their behavior, managing their budget, in terms of providing self-care and security for themselves, in terms of developing sexual behavior, protecting themselves, in terms of providing, developing digital skills, communication, work life, and planning their social life and traveling, and on how to manage their time. This is exactly making them more independent. This is very important. And we have this aile bilgi ve destek eğitimi update. It's informative and supportive education for families. And this is an e-learning program developed by Anadolu University and TÜBİTAK to support the families who have intellectually disabled children. And if you are interested, you can search for its details. And let's check some of the social initiatives. Maybe you have heard about this Benim Sesim, Benim Toplumum projesi. And here individuals with intellectual disabilities advocate their rights for themselves. Okay, if you want, you can read the whole declaration. Also, there was a Special Olympics, Oyun Birlikte, Hayat Birlikte, and here I put a link here. You can watch these people's special Down syndrome and intellectually disabled people's experiences as taken as a social initiative. And third one is Aile Değişim Program, a family exchange program, and the aim of that platform is to create a network between families who have child with Down syndrome around the world. Just ask yourself, where do you remember this social network stuff? Did you remember? We had talked about this while we were covering the topic of parents and families. We had said that families getting formal and informal support from each other is very important to keep them alive. So this is a really good social initiative. And let's lastly talk about economical initiatives. When we are talking about economy, we are referring to employment. As I said before, for most mental retarded, intellectual disabled cases, vocational trainings are kept active, but mostly we can involve mild, moderate cases here. Okay, they are getting trainings on a specific area, and as a result, as they are trained in those vocational training areas, they contribute to economic development of the world. And if they are graduates of these general, vocational, and special education secondary education institutions, they can be employed in some institutions if they enter the engelli kamu personeli seçme sınavı. They have an examination. If they pass it, especially, they can have jobs in vocational training areas. And I want to share one last economical initiative with you. This is Değerli Bir Ağ, and this provides internship or permanent job opportunity for Turkish citizens who have intellectual disabilities, as well as other countries' citizens, to complete an internship abroad or in Turkey in social responsible hotels and restaurants. Okay, thank you for today. I hope it's not been too long. Please write me some feedback about this video, so for the second one I will try to develop it. Take care, stay healthy, bye bye.